Hello everyone! Welcome back to my channel, welcome to my studio, and welcome to episode 27 of Alex Likes to Knit. I don't know, especially wearing this with shorts, it just feels like we're going to the beach or something. My little cow here. I have 4 finished pairs of socks. My name is Alex. I am an artist and a knitter in San Antonio, Texas, and this is a little knitting podcast, knitting diary, where I talk about what I'm working on and things I've finished lately, just all of the knitting. It's been a few weeks since my last episode because I was traveling. So, if you weren't here, I went on a Europe trip for 2.5 weeks. So it's been 3 weeks, maybe a little bit more, since I last filmed. So I have gotten a lot done and I have a lot to share. First thing that we have to start with is, of course, what I'm wearing, which is my first finished object. And this is a Tolsta tank. I was working on this during the last episode and was getting pretty close to getting done, and I wanted to make sure that I had it finished before my trip so that I could wear it, and I was able to do that. So yeah, like I said, this is the Tolsta tank by Clow. There are a lot of versions. So this is the vest version that has this kind of neckline and everything. This is the fingering weight version that comes in fingering weight and DK in the same pattern. And a few things that I did. There were a lot of options and modifications and things like that. Followed the directions for the vest version, and then instead of doing ribbing, I just did, I picked up and then did a stockinette. So I have a little bit of a rolled edge on the collar, or like the neckline, and my armholes. This one is rolling in more for some reason on this side, but I think it's a really nice finish, and I really like how it came out. It's very, very summery because it's very cropped, so I feel kind of I don't know, especially wearing this with shorts, it just feels like we're going to the beach or something. But I wore it some on my trip with jeans and with a sweater over it and stuff because it was chillier there, and it was super nice, really comfortable. The yarn, let's see. This is the yarn. It's from Hot Springs Fiber Co. in Hot Springs, Arkansas. I went on a trip there in July and picked this out because I really wanted to make this top. It's called Finger Candy Petite. It's 51% organic cotton and 49% rayon from bamboo. This colorway is called Mauve, and I was specifically looking for a fingering weight summer fiber, something like cotton, linen, that did not have wool in it. I had made earlier in the summer a stripy turtle tank. So it came up a little bit higher. It's an Emily Curtis pattern, so it doesn't have sleeves, but then it comes up a little bit higher, has sort of a mock neck. And I had done that one in a wool cotton blend, which I think it works. Wool and cotton blends work really well for a lot of people for summer garments. But here in Texas, it really is just too hot for wool. It's 100 degrees really regularly, and I found that the stripy turtle tank is a little bit, it just feels kind of itchy and woolly, and I think that it'll be really comfortable when it's cool or cold. I think wearing the stripy turtle tank with a little jacket whenever it's pretty chilly will be really comfortable, but I wanted to get a true summer fiber to try that out for a summer tank, and I'm so glad I did. This is a very wearable, really, really comfortable for me to wear piece, and I didn't find that the cotton was like hard on my hands to knit with or anything like that. I've had issues with that in the past, but I think I was doing really a tighter gauge than I should have been for the needle size that I was on. Since this was a very comfortable, loose gauge, I didn't have any problems with like pain or like cramping or anything. Like, it was super comfortable and easy breezy to knit. A few more things. I knit a size 4, I'm pretty sure. Is that true? Okay, I knit a size 3. So I followed the directions for the size 3 for the sizing and everything. I was on gauge with my swatch. I haven't measured my gauge like post like wearing it and everything. But yeah, I did the size 3. I made my depth here a little bit shallower than it said to, because I was worried that my armholes would come down too far. And I think it was a good call for this one because this finishing is so thin. But if I do this again, which I do plan to make another one of these at some point, I'd want to do a little bit more substantial finishing here, as well as make it a little bit longer. So you can see, if I stand up here, like this is, it's fine with these shorts. These are really high-waisted, like my belly button is right here. But it's like it's super summery, which like is cute and focus. It's super summery and I think that it really works. But I think if I do this one again, I will do sort of like a little bit more substantial finishing, so it'll have a little bit more coverage, and then a little bit longer and with the ribbing on the bottom too. That's kind of my vision for my next one, which will maybe be next spring or something. I'll probably do it again. So yeah, that is what I'm wearing and my first finished object. So now it's time to talk about socks. I have 4 finished pairs of socks because it's been a few weeks. I was traveling and socks are my go-to on-the-go project. So I had 2 pairs that I was hoping to get finished before I left, and then I only brought socks to work on while I was gone. So the 2 from before that I left, which is the 2 that you've seen before, I was able to finish these up before I left town, which was perfect because I finished these up and casted on new socks and was able to bring like barely started socks, which is, I find, like perfect for traveling. So this is the first one. This is a finished pair. It's just really plain vanilla socks, and I have like one, still need to weave that in, I guess. I didn't even realize. Oh, this on the top too, so I have a few ends to weave in, but that's okay. This is where I was before, so I was almost done with this pair. I was on the second sock, and I put the tag right here so I wouldn't lose it. This yarn I also got from Hot Springs Fiber Co. So on that same trip that I took around 4th of July, I got this yarn and this yarn. So how fun is that I've already knitted up and it's August and I got it in July. That's so great. Anyway, this yarn is Seriously Sock. It's 85% merino wool, 15% nylon, 450 yards per 100 grams. It is super soft. I love how like even and nice the variegation is. I think it came out super nice, just a super plain vanilla sock. I made these for my dad. On that trip, I was specifically looking for a sock yarn that I could use to make socks for my dad because I wanted to make him Father's Day socks, and then I started some and they just like were not gonna work out. But I wanted to make him some more neutral ones because the last socks I had made for him were pretty crazy. So he likes green, so I thought this like neutral brown green variegation would be fun for him. I will put my stitch counts, gauge info, all that for this pair in the description box if you're interested in my like vanilla sock recipe and the counts and everything for that. Yeah, that's my second finished object. My third one, since I made socks for my dad, I guess I had to make socks for my mom too. And these are the socks that I made for my mom. These are going to be her Christmas socks. I'm working on making Christmas socks for my immediate family so we can all have cute little like different little pairs of Christmas socks. But yeah, this was just a super easy one. It does have a little bit of a stitch pattern. It's from the Hermione's Everyday Socks, which is a really popular free pattern on Ravelry. So it's just a knit and purl repeat that gives you just a little bit of texture. So I have that on the leg and then on the top of the sock. And I did a little bit of a like short crew for her. Yeah, she likes to wear my hand knit socks with little like loafers. So I thought this would be really nice for Christmas to do plain red with a little bit of texture. And this yarn is just a Knit Picks yarn. It's Stroll Tonal. I think the color is Heartfelt. It's just a bright red Stroll Tonal, which is a really soft, fluffy, very affordable yarn from Knit Picks. So I finished those and then I casted on 2 more socks before, is that right? Or did I? No, I casted on 1 pair of socks before I left for my trip. Let me show you. So these, I will put them on the sock blockers so you can see them better. These socks I casted on, worked on them on the trip and finished them and was able to wear them while we were gone. So something kind of interesting about these is they are like really pilling and like kind of like falling apart. Can you see how much fluff is coming off of these? Like, it's really a lot of fluff and pills on the bottom. And I think my issue is that I made these too short. I was gonna do kind of a quarter like crew sock because I have some that I made. One of my first pairs of socks that I made is a pretty short crew sock and I wear them all the time and I think they're really cute with my little like sneakers. So that's what I was going for these, but I think that my gauge has loosened up or something and I felt like these were not staying up and they were moving around a lot in my shoe and on my heel. I don't think that this is like a characteristic of the yarn because I've made myself socks in this yarn before that were the same stitch counts and everything, but it was a taller sock and I've not had this issue with that pair. So yeah, I think I need to adjust my recipe for this like height of sock and maybe this height just isn't gonna work for me, which would be a bummer. I'm trying next like a little bit of a taller one to see if that'll work, but yeah. Anyway, this yarn, because it is really beautiful and really, really soft. I don't know if I have, not sure if I have the tag for this, but I know that this is Destination Yarn. It is First Class MCN, so it's merino cashmere nylon, which might be part of why it's kind of pilling, but like I said, I have another pair in this yarn that's not pilling like this, but it's like a, you know, a fancy sock yarn that's merino cashmere nylon, and this colorway is called Jupiter. I have, for Christmas, my partner got me 4 skeins from their Planets collection, so I've made some socks out of those, and this is, I think this was my favorite one from the set, so I kind of held on to it a little while. It like felt precious, and I'm glad that I got to work on it on my trip, and I still have plenty left. You'll see I'm doing something else with this with one of my current whips. For these and also for the red ones, I'll put my gauge and size and stitch count and everything info in the description box if you're interested. What else? Okay, so I finished those on the trip, right? So many finished objects. And then I brought this yarn to start another pair of socks. And I finished these up too. Isn't this cute? So yeah, I did the exact same formula, the same stitch counts and everything that I did for this. I did for these. You can see how much smaller these look because I wore these and like stretched them out. And these I haven't worn at all. And I didn't get a chance to put them on the sock blockers or anything. So I don't block my socks usually, but I will like stick them on my sock blockers before my podcast. And it keeps like starts to block them and makes them like semi-blocked like this, you know? Anyway, so this is the same height, the same stitch count and everything. This main color is Cascade Heritage Sock. What's the color? Maybe it's 5681. I'm not sure. Because I've bought this yarn in a few different colors. And I used this color specifically for a project that I did when I was in art school. I did a set, like a big set of hand knit socks with different texture patterns and everything, and I used this color so that it would really show off the patterns. I don't know. It was a cool project. I talked about it a little bit, not a ton, on my channel, but this is what that ended up looking like. I ended up putting up a grid of 6 socks like mounted on wood panels, and yeah, that was fun. So this reminded me of that because I had a skein extra. And then I used, for the contrast color, I did my pop-up color at the top, the heel, and the toe in one of the colors from my 2023 Ruby and Roses Advent, which I use those all the time. They're like everywhere. Yeah, so again, same counts and everything as this, but I'll put my information below. I'll put my pre-wearing and everything gauge information for this in the description box if you're interested. Okay, that is all the finished objects. All I have started is 2 more pairs of socks. I have not gotten started on any new garments or anything yet. So I started a 3rd pair of socks on my trip, and I had this yarn and this yarn with me. So I decided that I would use those, and this was kind of my plan because that was the only yarn that I brought with me. I decided I would use these 2 in a sock together. So I have finished the first sock. This is the first one. I love how these look together. Like, I think that this is a better color combo than this one. Yeah, because it really has that beige color in the variegated colorway. So I think it just like works super, super well. So I was traveling with my partner and their parents. So my in-laws. And I have made my mother-in-law socks before. I've made her a pair of DK weight socks because she wanted like a pair of shorty house socks. But I've never made her like a full fingering weight regular pair of socks. So I asked her if she would want some. I was like, I could make you like a taller pair you can wear in the winter with like boots or something. Just like a warm, regular, everyday pair of socks. And she was like, that would be amazing. So I started these for her, and I thought it was perfect because this kind of turned into a memory from the trip because it's my 2 other socks that I made while we were on that trip. And then I worked on these a lot while we were there, and she was there. while I was working on them and everything. So I think that that will be special for her too. So I did a little bit taller. This is like it's 18 rows of 2x2 ribbing and then 36 rows of leg. So she can wear these with like a short boot or something in the winter. The stitch pattern is from the String of Lights sock pattern by Sock Witchery. I didn't do the other details from that pattern. I bought that like years ago, and I just like the stitch pattern, and I felt like for this one, it being so plain, like you could really see this crease, and I don't know, I just wasn't crazy about this light solid color in the plain stockinette. So I was like, maybe if I do a little bit of a stitch pattern, it will look nicer, and I really, really like how it looks. So yay. I did a little bit different for these two. I wanted to give her more room in the foot because she had told me that she doesn't want them to be like too tight. So I did the 56 stitches for the leg here. Did my slip stitch, heel flap, and gusset, but I only decreased down to 64 stitches instead of 56. So it has 56 stitches around the leg, but 64 stitches around the foot. So it's just a little bit more space around the foot, and I hope that that will fit her well. So I finished this one while we were traveling, and then I started this one, and I'm still working on it. My second sock here, and I am just on the foot. I am like 20 to 30 rounds into the foot, and I think I did 50 before I started the toe here. So not a ton left to do on these. I'll probably finish these this week. But yeah, the yarn for this one is Destination Yarns Merino Cashmere Nylon in the colorway Jupiter, and this beige color in Cascade Heritage Sock. So that's my first work in progress. And then I have one more. This one is a little boring. So I was talking about how I have socks that are like this size and everything that I wear all the time, that I've had for a really long time. That is a plain orange vanilla sock, and it was the second pair of socks that I made. The first one that I made I couldn't really wear, they didn't really fit. So that was the first one that I made that fit, and I still wear them and I still love them, and they are just plain orange. And they're in the Cascade Heritage Sock yarn. And also, you know, a year ago, like last fall, whenever Emily from High Fiber Knits was talking all about tomato soup and the color of tomato soup, I bought this skein of Cascade Heritage Sock yarn, thinking I would make a hat, and it would be my tomato soup hat, but that never, I just didn't get to it. It didn't happen. I kind of lost interest and like kind of missed the like knit along. But I still really like this color. It's like more of a red orange than my orange one that I have. And I thought this would be perfect to replace my plain orange socks because they are getting old. I've worn and washed them a lot. I made them a few years ago, whenever I first like was learning how to knit socks. So it's time for a new pair. And I was worried about how those had kind of slipped into my shoe and stuff. So I didn't do different stitch counts. I just made my leg a little bit taller because I don't have issues with taller socks falling into my shoes. So hopefully this length here will be good. I think I have 12 or 15 rounds for the cuff, and then 30 for the leg. I can double check that, and I'll put details in the description of the sizing and gauge and everything for these. But it's just going to be a plain orange pair of socks. That's going to be really nice for fall, for wearing with my little sneakers. I find that I prefer to wear my more like solid color or muted socks. Like I love my crazy socks, especially in the winter. Like I will wear crazy socks because I'm wearing like sneakers and jeans, and you can like just see them a little bit and it's not a big deal. But in the summer, I usually am still wearing wool socks, but I'm wearing sneakers and then shorts, so you can just like really see them. And I like to just have like one color. So I think that I'm going to get a lot of wear out of these when they're done. I'm still working on the first sock, and this is just my most simple, basic, take everywhere project right now. So those are the 2 sock works in progress. Before I leave you, I want to also show my Scrappy projects. I haven't talked about them in a while, so give you a little update on my Scrappy projects, and talk a little bit about my plans for the next garments that I want to make. Scrappy projects first. So you guys know, maybe, maybe you don't, I'm making a granny square blanket with my sock leftovers. So in this bag here, this is actually a hand knit bag that my aunt made me. That it makes me so happy. It's really special. This little market bag, in here I have granny squares made from sock leftovers. In the bag, so I have all the ends woven in and everything on these. In the bag I have 35. And all these I've shown previously. I have added in the past 2 months or something 9 more. So I want to show them, and then I'll add them to the bag, and then I will have 44 granny squares in the bag. These granny squares that I'm doing, I don't have really a plan yet for joining them or anything like that. My idea is that I'll make at least 100 squares before I worry about figuring out how to join them and everything. So I'm just making squares right now. I'm using leftover sock yarn. I have 1 crochet hook that is a size D. I'm not sure what size that is. I'll look at it though. And I just do 5 rounds for my little granny squares. And so these are just from socks that I made recently. This one that I made recently for a friend. My mom's Christmas socks, leftovers from that. This is from a muscle burrow that I made recently. A yarn from my Ruby and Roses Advent. This is from some socks I made recently. These are just leftovers that I had in my stash. I had some scraps and stuff. These 2 oranges. Yellow. This is an old Christmas colorway from a long time ago. And then what is it? Alexandra, the Art of Yarn. This is her colorway. I had a mini, that I made socks with a long time ago. So yeah, I've just been kind of going through my stash and pulling out scraps that are like the right size to make these and adding to it every now and then. And I've been working on it some this week because I don't have a garment project going right now, so I've been kind of wanting something a little bit different than just my socks to work on while I'm at home and have a little bit more like focus time. So I pulled this out a few times and got all these ready to go. So they're going in the bag. And now we have 44. And I think I'll do a few more of these too because it's going to be at least a few more days before I get started on a garment project because I'm waiting for some yarn to come in the mail. Here's my crochet hook, size D, 3.25 millimeters. I'll just show this one really quick since I have it here. This is leftover yarn from a Tolsta tee that I made. That's just a fingering weight 100% cotton hand dyed yarn, and I'm making just like a washcloth. So I'm just gonna make like a square doing single crochet, and I've worked on this just a little bit, but I picked this up today and I just really like the feel of it. I put in a few more rows, and this is another thing that I'll probably work on some while I'm in between projects and waiting for that yarn to come in. And my kind of biggest Scrappy project that I'm working on that I wanted to update you on is my Excavation Blanket. So I need to move this to a larger needle, but look how fun this is. I'm really happy with how it's looking. It looks really cool from far away. So it's a corner to corner garter stitch blanket. It's a free pattern. I'm following the directions for the pattern, but my leftovers here that I'm using are anything from sport to worsted weight. They're all wool, or mostly wool, and yeah, so I'm just doing, you do like 2 row stripes, so you start at one end and you go back and forth, and then those 2 ends become the fringe. So I have them tied off, like whenever I have my 2 ends, I just tie them together in a little knot, so then I can probably do like maybe a really short fringe or like 2 inches or something, and it'll have fringe on this side, and then once I get to the full width, I'll switch to have the fringe on the other side. So it'll be a big square or rectangle blanket with fringe on 2 sides. I picked this up because I had finished this tank before I left, and yeah, I just wanted something different to work on. My little, is it my cow? Yeah, my little cow here is where I was last time I showed this. And I also got some yarn for a garment that I'm going to start fairly soon that I'll be able to use the leftovers from that garment in here too. And I have some yarn for a hat that I'm going to do at some point this fall that then the leftovers will go in here. So it'll be interesting because I'm kind of running out of my lighter colors that I used more of at the beginning. I have like some little bits of these lighter colors, and the ones that I'm going to be adding in, I have a dark brown, I have another reddish color, and another yellow. So it'll be interesting that it'll kind of like fade to different colors. But yeah, this is just a long-term project that I'm working on every now and then. I'm doing sport to worsted weight, and I think I'm using, size US 7, 4.5 millimeter needles. And I need to put this on a longer needle so I can keep working on it. But yeah, little update, because I'll probably work on these a little bit, but then kind of put them away once I have my next garment project started. Yeah, so I'm thinking for my next garment projects, I bought some yarn while we were in Europe. And I have these grand plans to knit some larger projects for Christmas for my family. So I am just about to get started on several new garment projects. So what I think I want to do is have that be a separate video, and it'll be my fall knitting plans video. So be on the lookout for that. It should come pretty shortly after this one, and I will show the yarn that I got on my trip, show the patterns that I'm planning on making, talk about some Christmas gifts I'm planning on making, and some special skeins that I have in my stash that I plan on knitting up this fall. So if you like project planning, like new yarn, stash, flashing videos, be on the lookout for that. It should be coming out pretty soon. Just as a kind of life and art update, my trip was amazing. It was really, really great. I I had posted a video before I left with the art supplies that I was bringing on that trip. So I have a little mini sketchbook, and I brought watercolor, colored pencils and pens, and like that was it. And I filled up a lot of that sketchbook while we were gone. I'm kind of working on going back through my camera roll and adding more to that sketchbook because I really would love to fully finish it with like memories from the trip while it's still fresh. So that's another video that will be coming probably next week once I like finish or like get to a better like finishing point for the art that I did on my trip. I'll talk more about where we went and show off that sketchbook. But yeah, it was a great trip. I bought yarn, I made art, I knitted in beautiful places in Europe, and it was awesome. So I'm feeling really good about my art that I'm doing. I'm starting a new project, like a fine art project, which is really exciting. Maybe I'll share more about that at some point soon. And yeah, planning like markets and everything for the fall season. So yeah, that's it. That's the update. Thank you so much for hanging out with me while I shared all of this knitting from the past few weeks. And I would love to hear what you're working on. I know a lot of people will, knit and watch the knitting YouTube. So if you're working on something, let me know what it is. Let me know what you're planning on making this fall, or just say hi. And I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye!